Friday episode of April 15. My favorite station to listen to whenever, wherever I am in the world is WNYC, the NPR station of New York City. And I was listening yesterday to this segment on one of my favorite shows, All Things Considered. And they were talking about the conversations that immigrants were having now that the Trump administration advised all illegal immigrants to self-deport, to basically go back to wherever they came from. And Miente, that made me think of the people that I know, the Cameroonians who I know, the Africans who I know, who voted for Trump. I'm not one of those people who think that if you're black, if you're a person of color, if you're a minority, that you can't vote for Trump. No, that's not what I'm thinking. That's not what I'm saying. I think that you can vote for whoever you want if you are able to vote in America. But the conversation that I had with some people who voted for Trump reminded me of this African, Cameroonian, you don't know what. I don't even know. I don't know what word to put on that, where people are able to justify a decision that is against their self interest. So I was talking about this member of my family who was saying to me that she was going to vote for Trump. And what was astonishing to me is the fact that she has a sister who she loves, who's an illegal in the United States. She has been in the US for more than 30 years, and she's an illegal in the United States. And her own sister is going to vote for Trump. Her own sister is going to vote for Trump, not even thinking about what her vote as an American citizen is going to do potentially to her own sister. And I was listening to her arguments, to her reason for loving Trump. And I kept thinking, what about your sister? What about the people who look like you, who want to become American citizens, who have kids here, who have lived here, and who are still not able to become full citizens of the United States? But this lady, an elder member of my family, wasn't thinking of any of that. She was into Trump. Oh my God, he's wealthy. He knows what he's doing. Yes, he wants to make America great again. And she loves the Trump family, Melania, and everything else. And I kept thinking, yeah, but what about the people who look like you? Do you know what your vote, what the fact that Trump is having a second term is going to mean for members of your own family? But that never even registered. And I don't know what to call it. I don't know what it is, Miente. I know that there's this thing, which is very, very Cameroonian. I don't want to say African, but Cameroonians are Africans. I'm not sure that it's that way everywhere, where other Africans are able to accept the mistreatment of other Africans in America or elsewhere. And to me, that's unbelievable. The fact that people are able Cameroonians are able not to care. And that reminded me also of the way Cameroonians view the current situation by saying, this is good. Because Cameroonians are no longer protected by the Biden, the way the Biden saw the situation in Cameroon. It was accepted that, especially for Anglophone, English-speaking Cameroonian, Cameroon wasn't really the place where to be. This has stopped. And I was reading some comments in Cameroon thinking, yes, this is good. So there is this glee, this satisfaction that many Cameroon, I'm not going to say Africans because I don't want to generalize. And I'm very well aware that Cameroon is not Africa. But my experience, which may be unique, makes me fear that this is more common than not. This glee that people have that, oh my God, they thought that they were, going to make it in America, in the West. Now they have to come back. Yes, they failed. This pleasure that people take in African failures. Yes, this is good. Oh, or people don't want, America to be for everybody. A lot of Cameroonians, you can listen to their conversation in America. I don't have, I'm not going to pretend that I'm very, very well integrated into the Cameroon, in the Cameroonians communities in America. That's not true. But I've been, places where there have been some Cameroonians. And you can listen to them speak and they say, oh yeah, there are too many immigrants. Oh no, yeah. Oh, there's too many people here. Because in a way, one of their reasons for being in America is not to be in Africa, not to be in Cameroon. So they don't want too many Africans there, too many minorities there. They want to be in a white country. They want to be a part in the white country. They want to succeed in the white country. They want their kids to be white. The lady I'm talking to you about is a member of my own family. I'm not going to say who it is, but her kids don't speak French, which is acceptable. They don't speak any African languages. They only speak English because to her, that's important. She wants her kids to be Americans. And she even says to them, oh no, you can consider yourself to be French. And she keeps saying to them, you have to marry white Americans or white people. I want my grandkids to be of mixed race, because then it would mean an improvement. When you face those type of beliefs, I don't know how to react to that. I keep wondering, where does that come from? And it leads me back to what Ta-Nehisi Coates, the American journalist and writer, was talking about the African Americans. He said that they are internalized their own inferiority. And I think it's the same with many Africans, with many Cameroonians. They have internalized some of the stereotypes that there are out there about Black people, about Africans. Laziness, meanness. They really believe that Black people are bad. And my aunt, she doesn't really like African Americans. She feels that they're lazy. We at least come here and know that America is great. We can work. We come here to work. We come from countries where there is no freedom, and when we come here, we love it. She doesn't really relate to African Americans. To them, she used that Nigerian slang, akata. She doesn't want her kids to be mixed with African Americans because there's this disconnect for her. But I think it has to do a lot with education. I think that the more educated you are, the more schooling you got, the less those things are prevalent. I believe it may be my own bias. Obviously, I accept that, but I think that it's less likely if you have been able to interact with other African Americans, and if you realize that history here is important, that the context is always important. We can't just generalize. We can't just say, yes, Cameroonians are this way, Cameroonians are like this, Cameroonians are like that. But again, listening to this report on All Things Considered, you know, one of my favorite show from NPR, where they were talking about immigrant families thinking about what are they going to do now that America is becoming less and less friendly for immigrants. It used to be, when I came to America, you could be undocumented. You could be an illegal alien and find work. Many of them in New York, they're everywhere. People who work in restaurants, people who clean houses, maids, babysitters. You pay them under the counter. People accept that. That's the way it has always been. So that now that America is changing, I was thinking of the Cameroonians that I know who have a lot of people in their own family who have immigration issues. What are they going to do? Are they going to help? But you see, that's the thing. And it has been there miente forever. I have a lot of Indian friends, and I'm always struck about the fact that they are very, very organized. That's true, actually, for most Asian immigrant communities. They're very organized. They are structured. When you come in America, you know where to go. You know what to do because you are welcome in the community. That's the case India, China, South Korea, even Japanese communities in Africa, very, very well structured and organized. But I'm not going to say it's the same for every African community in America, but I know that in Cameroon, it's less the case. I had this conversation with a Cameroonian who I think we met. He was a waiter at one of my favorite coffee place. We sort of started talking, and he was saying to me that he had to basically take a step back from other Cameroonians because he realized that all the advice that they gave him were wrong, and that the goal was never to help him, was never to help him, but to make him suffer, mislead him. And all the conversation that I've been having with other members of the African diaspora, those stories are very, very frequent. Those stories are not rare, where people realize that there is this thing, this African I don't know what, which make people less likely to help another African, to welcome him, to give him good advice. I don't know if that is changing because I'm not, guilty. I'm not really, that is not really my milieu. It isn't. But Yeah, that is prevalent. And listening to um, Hispanics having those conversations, I was thinking of this lady from my family and her sister. And I know that she's not going to go back because she's too ashamed to go back. She knows that she's not going to be welcome with open arms in Cameroon. And that's the thing. This African, this Cameroonian, you don't know, where people are never nice. There's no empathy. The refusal to be compassionate, to embrace other Cameroonians, other Africans, no matter what, especially when they're going through something that is tough, when they're going through something that is difficult, when they are failing, when they're struggling. My French episode yesterday was on Andre Onana, the Cameroonian goalkeeper from Manchester United. And you should read the comments. You should read the comments. This refusal to empathize, to say, oh, he should look at himself, look at the way he's acting. Can you guys explain to me where that comes from? This meanness, this willingness to make other Cameroonians, other Africans smaller, to make sure that they never go as high as possible. This lady who's a member of my family, she voted for Obama twice. And she voted for him thinking that he was going to do stuff for other Africans. Now she looks at him and say, oh yeah, whatever. He didn't do anything for us. He thought that he was above us. It's very unsettling. It's very, very unsettling. It's even worse. It's worse in Francophone Africa. It's worse. Even among Cameroonians, English speakers are better. It's worse amongst, people who speak French in Cameroon and in Africa. It's worse. This willingness to just be like, nah, to say, no, this is not that great, to basically find something to justify being mean, being intolerant, judging, condemning, no empathy. I hope all illegal immigrants, blended families are able to survive the next 4 years. I know it's going to be very, very difficult. Last week, I talked about Kilmore Abrego Garcia saying that it was going to be very, very difficult for him to come back to America, and watching what the president from El Salvador said yesterday. And I was like, man, hard. What should we do? How do you explain that? I think it may be too easy to just say that Africans have internalized the view that others have. I think a lot of it has to do with also the fact that we are always thinking that we are competing against each other. Cameroonians and Africans for whatever there is out there. If you have a Cameroonian in the United States, that means that you can't be, that is one less spot for you. And I think that the example from this lady, who's a member of my family, tells you that fear that there isn't enough space for all of us. Her own sister is an undocumented alien, but she's an American. And that's okay for her. Because in a way, I think that she feels like, yeah, that's life. There isn't enough. There isn't enough. And I think that many Cameroonians feel that way. There isn't enough. That explains most of Africa local politics. It explains definitely Cameroonian local politics. There isn't enough. You take as much as you have to take. You think of yourself, there isn't enough. You can only think of you and your kids, not even your sister. There isn't enough. And if you do so much, you're gonna lose, There isn't enough. There isn't enough. So I'm very pessimistic. I don't think that Cameroonians in America, Africans in America, are certainly going to get organized and realize that together they have a chance. I don't think they will. I think that they are going to be so afraid of what is happening, of losing their own citizenship, given the fact many of them have probably lied to become Americans, that they're going to be afraid of basically becoming active and trying to help others, even if they're Africans, even if they are Cameroonians. They're going to be thinking, no, I need to protect my own citizenship and to make sure that I don't expose myself and to basically retreat. So yes, I know, guys, surprisingly, a lot of Cameroonians, a lot of Africans who voted for Trump, knowing that they have in their family a lot of illegal immigrants who are going to have to think about self-deporting right now in the next 4 years, and who may be deported even though they have been in America for a long time. So, guys, help me. What is this African je ne sais quoi? What is it? I don't know what word to put on it. I don't want to say African self-hatred because I think it may be too strong. Toni Morrison called it, when she talked about African Americans, self-derogation. Self-derogation. I'm not sure if it works here, but it may. I think that Africans, Cameroonians, when they are in America, are allowed to be conservative. I talked to you about Glenn Lowry, who's a conservative that I love, who loves Trump. But at least he doesn't have illegals in his own family. I agree that not all Cameroonians, not all Africans have the same interest in America. But I think that there are certain things we should be able to agree on. So listening to this lady voting for Trump, supporting Trump, even though her own sister, whom she loves, is an illegal alien, made me wonder. I don't know. I have questions. I'm confused. I wanted to talk to you about that. Okay, Miante, let me know what you thought. You can write to me, contact@fotso.org, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already.